the red, white, and blues banner. We have the appointment of Cable Advisory Board member.
We spend a minute on that? Thank you. Kara, you're on that board. Could you tell me who the other members are, please?
Dave Fridman, Sam Kaiser, Marsha Marins, Michelle Twitchell, and Alex Wyszynski. And Chip. Where do you go?
Wherever you are.
He was here before.
Thank you.
Yeah, they've been on it. Many of them have been on for years, and they're looking to train new people and cycle out.
I noticed that you had a candidate looking to come on board.
Yeah, we only had one applicant.
Right.
Only one person showed any interest, so,
And he's an engineer with Tarbox Radio Studios. That's
Yeah.
owned by Dave Friedman.
yeah.
Consolidated funding application grant. Where's Nate? You want to give us an update?
Sure. So I was here about a month and a half ago and just gave a quick synopsis on the New York Main Street target area building renovation program. As you know, we completed the technical assistance grant awarded by New York State in the amount of $20,000. The grant which we would be seeking would be based on that report with some flexibility allowed. We'd be seeking $500,000 for a $625,000 project. Administration costs would be reimbursable under the grant, meaning zero village matching share. And the way it works is participating property owners within the approved target area would be eligible to apply to get up to 75% of their eligible costs reimbursed under the grant. So they'd have to fund it in full, meet the guidelines, and then get reimbursed. We've had a lot of interest. We had 5 participating property owners participate through competitive application in the technical assistance. We feel that we have well over $625,000 in projects, and we're hoping to advance this, get funding, and select those to move forward. Any questions?
This printout here that I printed out earlier today, the funding round rules and requirements, this only goes up to 2018. Do we go by those, or is there a new chart for funding round rules?
It's the same. I got that off of Office of Community Renewal's website. It has not changed from last year.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Again, no cost to the village other than administration, which is reimbursable. We pay a line item for that.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
We have so much interest. It's very encouraging. Okay, you want to give us an update of the Barker Common
Sure.
project?
While I'm standing, I'd like to report. I provided some documentation for you. Just a quick report. Unfortunately, Joy Keebler, landscape architects, weren't available to be here tonight, but we're hoping to schedule them at a future meeting to go over the final design concept plan, which was unveiled to the public last month. So in short, the Barker Commons Steering Committee met for, I believe, the 6th time last week, and we reviewed the consultants' cost estimations for the project. This group has worked diligently for the course of almost 3 months to dissect those numbers and categorize them in various buckets, such as omitting, canceling, costs that we think we can get donations for, costs that we think we can cover with in-kind services, and costs that we can move to our other grant project, the Smart Growth Placemaking project, the $1.2 million funded by the state. So in a nutshell, the committee would like the board to discuss what it's forwarded to you. So this page in your packet is kind of the value engineering the group has done. And if you look on here, the box in green is the cash side of the budget breakdown. As you can see, we're at $446,000 currently. So in a nutshell, the white page breaks down using this number, the 446 is the bulk of the cash. It breaks down kind of the sources and uses where recommended to you, and it's the board's decision whether you want to go with these numbers, which are, as you can tell, have increased since the first budget was submitted to you. If you want to scale it back down to the original proposed budget, or if you want to try to reduce and meet somewhere in the middle.
What you're proposing today is how much extra that the board will have to approve?
So, in talking with Jim, the board, as is, the recommendation in front of you, if you decided to go with this, it would be a difference of $71,110.62 from the bond anticipation note approved to you in 2017.
Or to select something else instead of BAN?
Yeah, that's one option. The other would be to appropriate the amount out of our budget. Either, it's be under capital funds, but you can amend the budget and include this additional amount. You wouldn't do anything until you actually go to bid and the work that's going to be performed to determine what your actual costs are going to be. I think that's what we had discussed, and then then you have a choice. Then we can create a BAN. It would be a short-term 5-year plan, or depending on the amount, I think we can find money in our capital funds for $70,000 to $100,000. You would make a budget transfer, make an appropriation for the difference, if that was the amount. So those are a couple of choices that you have. You don't. Pardon?
That would make the most sense to me for that amount to find it within the capital fund. So,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I said that would make, what you're proposing would make the most sense to me, instead of bonding it. I don't see,
Yeah, well,
bonding
so-
a project like this.
Well, that's a decision that you would make.
Would Jeff Smith at the next meeting be able to advise us a little
You're
better?
not depreciating it like a truck.
Or not, this is too small of amount to,
It's too small of an amount. I mean, I know we have capital fund, more than that, fund balance in the capital fund. So we can amend our capital fund budget and incorporate that into it.
In many cases, I can't believe. Well, maybe it will be in this budget year, if we're lucky enough to have the work done.
It should be this
It should be.
year. I don't know if it will be this calendar year, but it should be this calendar.
Budget year and calendar year, obviously.
The other question that I have is, I mean, these in-kind, looking at these in-kind services, that's pretty much going to be village workforce, removing benches, and is that correct? I mean,
Well, first of all, the total match requirements is 25%. So the state may even ask us to take the in-kind off if the catch exceeds 25%. So we have more than enough in-kind. We can use village labor, village equipment, volunteer hours. The committee that's been meeting and assigned value to that. So we well exceeded the in-kind.
so that's kind of flexible, isn't it? I mean, for example, if we didn't have the 47,000 in there, our total $71,000 estimate would be lower, correct?
41,000.
You're in kind, you have a total of 47, almost 48,000, correct? Okay, so you're saying that the total budget right now is over by 71,000? Does
So
that
I
include?
didn't count the in-kind.
Okay, that's what my question.
Anticipation of
All right.
So the in-kind was included in the bond anticipation
The
note?
in-kind is currently included as part of the total project cost.
Right.
Because that's the way it's currently set up. However, in this iteration at least, we exceed, so there's a minimum 10% cash required of the project. We're in excess of 30% now. So we might just, for the sake of the Parks Grant project, we may just take the in-kind out, that snapshot, but it's still part of the total project. I will note, we should have brought the final concept rendering upstairs, but it is in the lobby. It was unveiled in public meeting, the Barker Common last month. The good thing is, while we are over budget, the smart growth grant helps us compensate for that. And we're still basically able to accomplish everything in here. I do want to make the point that it is the recommendation that so we can proceed, we take the fountain restoration component out, which we would have to get approval from Parks, but the engineering report came back about $360,000 to completely renovate the fountain. We're doing some additional due diligence and dissecting those numbers to see if that's accurate. But the recommendation is that's taken out of this current project, and we move forward without it, and then call that a phase 2 and try to find some additional funding to accomplish that.
Which is not where we want it, but probably we have to do that. Yeah. Right, anything else?
Can we ask the street superintendent to comment on the in-kind contribution and how
Sure.
that would affect his?
He was consulted in the beginning anyways. Yes, of course. Tony?
I don't think it'll be a problem. We looked at some of the provisions of in-kind services, and we refined some of the original thoughts on what we could do or cannot do. So I'm sure we'll work it out together when the time comes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Nate. Do you have anything else for us?
I'll just add that give it some thought and please give me some direction so we can move forward with the next steps.
Do we need to pass a resolution to do that?
So again, talking with Jim, if it's your decision to go with these numbers, we would have to have another resolution for another bond anticipation note.
If
for the
they
difference.
don't?
If you don't, we still would if it's a number in between. We wouldn't if you want to go back to the original project numbers.
No, I mean if they decide that they want to use local funds instead of bonding the
Yeah,
money.
then there'd just be a resolution appropriating local funds,
Okay.
Making a budget transfer out of our capital.
Oh.
Either way, you have to have an appropriation before you can obviously spend the money, so.
Yes.
And then I'll just add real quick, so the next steps would be for the consultant to get started on the bid documents right away and simultaneous start a 30-day SHPO review process. I don't anticipate any issues with SHPO since it's considered improvements to an existing area. And then we would go out to bid depending on contractor availability to be determined when construction would be. Could be later this fall, but realistically could creep in the next calendar year.
Very good.
we could have a resolution for the next meeting? for
Yeah.
preparing?
Well, let's see if you want to go that way. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I just want to revisit this one more time. Be redundant, but if we were to pass a resolution appropriating the money instead of doing a VAN, that would increase our share of the project, correct?
Correct.
So then how does that impact the in-kind part of it?
So the in-kind, for the sake of the Parks Grant, could realistically be taken out, and therefore be much more easy to administer and record keep, as long as we have more than 25% in cash.
Well, we would assume we would be if we were increasing it by 70,000.
Yes.
We're trading off 70,000 for the 46 in kind,
It's
and,
still part of the project, but not part of the grant budget.
yeah.
But then they would go to bid for that portion, and so then the streets department wouldn't be doing.
No,
No, they will.
No, they'd still be doing it,
Yeah.
we just don't have to incorporate and track it.
Okay.
The reason I have it in here still is we were trying to maximize in-kind originally to lower the village's cash contribution. But if it's going to exceed 25%, we can take that out of the budget.
So that's just a
Still
matter
part
of
the-
tracking of how the funds are going to use it. We'll still be using the village for that portion anyhow, though. Okay.
Anything else? So, do you want to discuss it, or you want to think about it, or what do you want to do for next meeting?
I would prefer not to get them, I would prefer not to bond it. If we can find the money, if we have the money.
I can make a report, kind of show you what the impact is, you know, now that I have some numbers to work with, versus, I mean, even if you do a bond anticipation note, that's still part of our share.
Right.
So,
Right, either way.
so maybe I might have to sit down with you one more time and just go over this.
And also, as you're all aware, these are just cost estimates, still have to go out to bid. So this is a moving
Yeah.
target, may go up or down. We're working with a design consultant so we can stay flexible to that and include some design alternatives in the bid package. So allow us to be flexible and change that moving target. We did our due diligence though to put in kind of an escalation. Prevailing wage is budgeted in these items. Inflation, contingency are built in.
Yeah, hold on.
So we'd be hopeful that the bids would come in under or around what we budgeted.
So what happens if they approve a BAN, and then instead of using it, they decide to use local funds? Are we, like, if they approve a BAN, do we have to go and bond the money? Or is still the option that we don't use that part and we use our local funds?
Well, no, you'd still be using local funds. The bid's going to establish what the total project cost is going to end up actually being, correct? For most of it?
In cash.
In cash.
We wouldn't count the in-kind.
Yeah. So, and then based on that number, that would determine what our share is. And, I mean, we already have a bond anticipation note for the
Yes.
total project.
For 415, yes.
So, you know, the amount's going to depend on what the actual bid numbers come in at for the cash part of it.
No, what I'm asking is, they have to make a determination as to which way they want to go, either bond the money or use the local funds. The extra, this $71,000.
Well, there's cost to bonding the money, and it was such a small amount, you know, I thought that's why, I thought it'd be used to local funds.
I got it.
We can do a resolution appropriating, setting it out and appropriating the money out of the capital fund initially.
Okay.
Nothing else, that's all it's going to be is just an authorization then, if we decide to take the money out of the capital fund. If the amount comes in greater than that, we can always go to a bond anticipation note. We still have that choice.
Okay, right.
It's going to depend on the amount of money though.
Okay.
Personally, I don't feel it's really, for anything under $100,000, I think that's we can afford to
Right.
appropriate the money. We're going to pay for it one way or the other. The only thing that does is it spreads the cost out over 5 years.
But here's some
But-
expenses as
Yeah.
well. Okay, so if everybody's okay to have a resolution at the next meeting.
That's a requirement, something by next meeting probably would be appropriate.
Sooner
As
the
soon as,
better.
you know, the earlier the better. I just have to give directions to the consultants so they can start the documents.
Because if we need to put the bids out, and then a month for
Yeah.
the SIGR, I mean, we pushing and pushing later and later. Okay.
So, yeah, so that'd be great so we could
Suggest-
have it for next meeting then?
Can we have it for next meeting?
Sure, Leslie.
Okay.
Well, you need an authorization to go to bid, right?
Right, so, there you go.
Do they have the authorization to go to bid, or they need a new authorization?
I'll have to review the original authorizing resolution.
Okay,
Check with them.
just let us know. Okay.
So we have two resolutions.
Right.
Authorized resolution
One-
to proceed there and one to appropriate the money
Based on these estimates
based on those
right now.
estimates. Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
All right, very good. And then we have the DPW seasonal worker.
I got a question for Tony. Tony, how many guys are working for you now?
Part-time, too.
Two, just two? And we budgeted 4?
Actually, no, we just got the third one on. This will be the fourth one and the final one. Yeah, we had a gentleman lined up and then he, in between, found a different job, so this gentleman is the fourth, filling the final slot.
I noticed on the village website, where it says village employment applications, says periodically and due to a variety of factors, the village of Fredonia has a need to hire additional personnel. When that specific need arises, there will be an announcement here on our website. For those people interested in employment within our village, the first step in the process is to fill out an application and a background check. Has that been completed? Does anyone know?
I think it has been forwarded.
Has it?
Have you guys got one yet?
Yeah, it came downstairs. Is it the one for tonight?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been, okay. Just so the board understands, it's a very limited, by law, the only thing we can do is see what the individual, was convicted of within the village of Fredonia. So it's very limited background check.
Would this seasonal employee operate a vehicle?
We always do a driver license.
You got a
So that would be
license.
another part of the background
Yeah,
check.
yeah, they have to have valid, it's actually a condition of employment, I think, they have to have a valid.
You have to have a valid license.
So we run that to confirm that it is valid. We actually do that annually for every employee of the village.
Gotcha.
Very good. And then we have the fire department. We talked about it.
Yep, I have some questions. This position, as well as a chief wastewater plant operator position, we had people come in and fill out applications, and you received applications, and you interviewed these people without letting the board know. We had passed a resolution in 2017 requiring the board to be let known when applicants are given to the village and who they are, so we could review those. And when you do interviews, interviews were given for lieutenant, and apparently you had an interview for the wastewater treatment chief operator.
Well, you can ask me that, Mr. Esek. The wastewater treatment plant operator, chief operator, was not an actual interview. It was just a discussion to see if he's interested. He was not at the end.
Did you submit an
So-
application?
He put an application in, but he took it off the next morning.
Okay.
Okay, so that was one. The second is I rely totally on the fire chief. I was there. He did the interview as he was supposed to, and that was the end of it.
Okay, well, we have a resolution stating that when applications are to the village for jobs, the Board of Trustees is to be let known that, and when you interview, if there's trustees who wish to be on the interview committee to interview these positions.
The interview committee, it was my responsibility. I put there Jim Linden. He could not come that day. He did not come.
What I'm saying is, these times when you interview are supposed to be let known to all the trustees in case any trustee would
I
like
didn't
to.
say that in the resolution. The resolution said that the Board of Trustees desire to be part of the committee. The committees are my prerogative. I put Mr. Linden there. He was not able to come. Usually he does, but he was not able to come.
I can read the entire resolution here.
Trustee, can I have a copy of the resolution? It was 17, so it was before me.
Yep. I can read it to the public here. Whereas members of the Board of Trustees desire to attend any interviews with applicants for the village employment along with the mayor and village administrator so that board members may personally meet and interview applicants for village employment. Now therefore be resolved that the village administrator is authorized to contact the mayor and trustees to let them know the time and place of any such interviews and take reasonable steps to schedule the interviews on a date and time that the mayor and board members can be present. And be it further resolved that the mayor and board be informed when an application for employment is filed with the village so that the mayor and the board members have the opportunity to review the application before the interview with the applicant. What we have right now is 3 days or 4 days before we make a decision on this, we get that information of who this subject is.
It's not. We talked about it at the executive session. You knew about the people, you know who they are.
That is
He
wrong.
talked
We
about
did
both.
not,
No,
Mayor.
I'm going to correct you. We talked about the position, but we didn't talk about the actual applicants.
Okay, what this resolution says, and this goes back to the village administrator, it says that the village administrator is authorized. Not that he has to, but that he's authorized. We don't have a village administrator. That would have gone directly to the mayor. That would have been in compliance with this resolution.
Did we pass a resolution making the mayor the authorized administrator?
It doesn't make a bit of difference whether you pass a resolution or not. With the removal of the administrator, the abolishment of that position, the mayor is the de facto administrator.
It still doesn't take away the fact that the Board of Trustees need to be,
The Board of
Informed.
Trustees was informed because Jim Linden was informed.
just because Jim Linden was informed does not.
He's
mean-
part
He's
of my
he's
committee.
part of the board,
He's
and
part of
he's the
my
one that's
committee.
on the committee. So if you can find me something else, I'd be happy to read it, but what you're relying on is a resolution that says that the administrator, who doesn't exist anymore, is gonna notify the mayor. Well, the mayor was notified. That the administrator also may advise the Board of Trustees. The mayor advised Jim Linden, he's on the Board of Trustees, he's the member from that committee, so everything was done properly.
What is
You're
the problem
missing the
right now?
entire point.
I'm just asking the problem right now. You know the people, you know both of the people who applied, and we are following the
No, I did not
recommendation
know
of the
either
chief.
one of the members that applied. No, I did not, Mayor.
I
That
didn't
is,
receive anything else.
do not.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, not all of the board needs to be notified. The committee members for the board, that notification will be fine.
I believe
And
you're
then-
wrong.
Well, I think.
Well, that, you
doesn't the
can believe
committee-
it all day, but here's the deal. If the mayor, as we no longer have an administrator, is notified, and the mayor notified the member of the board whose committee that belongs to, that's done correctly, believe what you want.
I'm believing what the resolution states.
Yeah, you're reading it
Mr.
incorrectly.
Guard. I'm reading it perfectly clear.
Okay.
We can agree to disagree here. I don't know
I
how-
don't think we can agree to disagree. This is a matter of law. This is a resolution. The village administrator is authorized. Doesn't say you have to, and what I heard historically is that he didn't. But in this case, both the mayor and the board member who is on that committee were notified, so there's no room to complain here.
To contact the mayor and the trustees, plural.
You know what? Again,
Does that mean just Jim, or does that mean all the board?
that means the board of trustees in the committee that was assigned to that,
Doesn't
which is
state
Jim.
that. It doesn't state that.
It also states administrator, so you know that's not correct.
I've sat in a couple of interviews too. as a
Yes, you
second
have.
trustee,
Absolutely.
but I was never asked to come back and interview this candidate. Why not?
That was last year, right?
You
Yeah,
were taken
back
off
in
the committee, were you?
Right.
It was last year.
Before the
Oh,
new
that's right, she
committee,
kicked me off that
before the
committee.
new committee
Yeah.
was appointed.
Right, okay.
So, yeah, sorry, sorry you were kicked off the committee, but the committee still was notified, so that's the end of that.
Okay. One other question here. My name was removed from the resolution regarding the fire lieutenant citing a conflict of interest. Anne Marie sent that out to, email to me here. I'm not sure what the conflict of interest is, but I believe that's something that I determine the conflict of interest. I don't know why I'm removed from resolutions regarding the fire lieutenant and somebody else deciding what my conflict of interest is.
In any case, this was not something that you wanted to sponsor. You never expressed any interest to that. That was Anne Marie putting members there. You're not a member of the fire committee, so just by herself did that. I thought that because you are a volunteer fireman, that makes you a little bit not in the right position to sponsor it, not to vote for it, to sponsor it. It doesn't matter to me who sponsored it, Mr. Esek.
Okay, I was gonna say, I never had a conflict of interest.
You can
with
put your
hiring any
name
other-
there.
If you'd like
Sponsoring
to
the
add
whole
your name to
committee.
the resolution, we'd love to have you.
I have no idea what that meant. I just meant, I haven't removed from the resolution. Does that mean voting on it? Okay, now that you clarified that, thank you.
Please put Mr. Esek again as a sponsor of the resolution. I have
No.
absolutely no problem. So why are we discussing it? You can put
discussing it,
yourself,
Mayor, because
Mr. Briggs can put himself, Dr. Barnes can, everybody can put themselves in the resolution. I hope the whole board, all 5 people, put themselves in the resolution as sponsors.
Mayor, I did not ask to be removed from that. I did not indicate any conflict of interest. If Anne Marie would like to confirm, I asked her to remove me from a different resolution, and that was all. So I'm not sure what this is, to incite some kind of confusion or what this was for.
Again, I apologize, Mr. Esek. Please, by all means, put your name on the resolution.
That's not necessary, Mayor. There's 2 people already on the resolution.
The
Thank you.
whole board can sponsor a resolution.
Absolutely. And what we'd like is all the resolutions to be sponsored by the entire board.
Okay, let me ask you this here too. This position was originally proposed in the mayor's proposed budget. It was taken out at the end because we had to remove money to be in the range of the 15 to 25% of
No, that was not one of the positions that was moved out. It was not. That position is still in the budget that the board approved.
It was.
Yes.
The increase was left in.
The increase was left in?
And it was designated for the lieutenant.
Okay.
It wasn't that, it was a total position because he's already a member of the department.
Yeah, it's only the
And so
increase.
we just put in the difference in what the title would be, that the highest person had versus what the person would get if he was appointed.
Do I expect sometime in this year that we're going to backfill a position? And that position was not included in the budget.
No, I think that position was included in the budget.
No, we took that out. That was,
No, there were 2 positions at the beginning. We took 1 out. There were 2 positions for two lieutenants. We took 1 out. There was 1 position for a new police officer. We took that out.
Yeah.
The rest is
Right,
there.
yeah. It was the police officer's position we took out. Yeah.
We don't propose a new position unless we talk to Jim and he verifies that the new position is in the budget, Mr. Esek.
thank you, Mrs. Landis.
As doctor, thank you. Can we go forward or we have anything else?
Do you have any other questions on that, Trustee Brits?
Okay. And then we go to the fire chief probationary period. And you'll explain that.
Yeah, the fire chief has been doing a great job, and he's been here for the last, 19 months, Ryan? Okay, and according to civil service, the probationary person who's there over 9 months automatically becomes permanent, all right? But we kind of got caught a little bit in the state's restructuring of the requirements. So what we're doing today is, he's already.
Excuse me, could you repeat
Go
that?
ahead.
After 9 months, what was?
After 9 months in a probationary position, the probationary
Provisional
position, or provisional, I'm sorry, provisional position, it automatically becomes permanent. That's New York State Civil Service law.
Take a
I'm sorry?
test. I thought to have to be out of provisional, it doesn't automatically happen.
Well,
You
in
have to
this,
take a
in this
test.
case, he did have some more certifications because New York State changed them in January. But normally, before this past January, he would have just gone into the permanent position, okay? So what we've got is a little bit of a hybrid because the law was changed. He is the permanent fire chief, but we do, at the same time, we can't have his probation basically backdated, okay, even though that was the way it used to be. Now, it's got to go for a minimum of 8 weeks, and so that's what we're asking for.
A minimum of 26
No,
weeks.
minimum of 8.
Do you have documentation on that?
The civil service has documentation on it. I don't have my law books with me.
The only thing that happens after, can I read up from the civil service?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Basic probationary term required for most original permanent appointments is not less than 26 or more than 52 weeks. The exceptions are appointments to training positions, teacher and vocational instructor positions, and to titles specifically listed in the rules. The rules provide that the probationary term continues to the maximum limit unless the appointing authority gives written notice to the probationer that the probationary term has been successfully completed. If the probationer's service is not satisfactory, employment may be terminated at any time after 8 weeks and before the completion of the maximum period. So if we only give them an 8-week probationary period, that ensures that there's no way that Chief Walker, if his performance is not up to par, that he can be removed.
Okay. You're reading a different section of the civil service law, which is not applicable to the situation. This is a civil service probationary position, all right? Which is, I mean, civil service law is
That's what
complicated.
this is, probation.
And I understand how you don't
Provisional,
understand
he
it.
was
but-
provisional.
It's a promotional position.
Right, it's a promotional position.
Separate set of rules.
Yep.
for it.
Okay, so then why would firefighter Dan Aldrich have to serve 26 weeks?
Because that is a new position. It's not a probation, or, again, sorry, provisional position, which he's been serving for 19 months. He's brand new, okay? What you've got in this situation, and civil service recognizes, that you've got a gentleman who's been serving for 19 months in the same position as a provisional. All right, so civil service is driving the bus.
I guess-
You're reading the wrong section of the law.
I'm reading the right section, but I think the board needs to know and the public needs to know that just because somebody has served in a provisional appointment, we still have the prerogative and the option to follow civil service law.
We are.
Yes, you
No,
have
we're not.
you have the prerogative
No, we're
to
not.
give him anywhere between 8 weeks and 26 weeks of probation, starting, yeah.
26 and 52.
You guys can shake your heads all day
No, no,
long, but I talked
no,
to
you
civil
just-
service
you
like
just-
4 times on
You
this.
just change it to 26 weeks.
And the deal is
From
anywhere
8
from
to
8 to
26.
26.
Okay.
Okay, and because this gentleman has been serving in this position for 19 months, it was thought by civil service, and I agree, unless you've got a problem.
Who in civil service thought this? Who did we speak to?
We spoke to Francine Emily, who is in charge of,
Stockholm.
the Civil Service Commission for villages and towns.
Okay.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we have to follow that advisement.
That's the law, so you kind of do.
No, it's not the law.
Okay.
Mr. Guard?
Mr. Essick, I'm telling you,
After the meeting, you can
this is-
point out the part of civil service law that you're speaking of, and you could show me that verbatim. So I'm showing you what's in New York civil service law currently, and you're trying to tell me something that I have looked through this.
And Mr. Essick, I'm telling you, you're reading it wrong.
Well, then you need to show me, Mr. Guard, after the meeting, the section of civil service law that applies to exactly what you're saying.
So the
And-
problem is that you don't want to give him probationary period for 8 weeks. How much you want to give him?
Minimum of 26, maximum of 52.
No, Mr. Essick,
No,
you're
the
reading that
maximum
wrong.
is
You can give him
26.
26 if you want to, okay? If you think after 19 months of serving in this position that Chief Walker's not doing a real great job and you need the rest of the time, then okay, fine, all right? But it's 8 to 26, not 26 to 52. This is a provisional position.
It
which
was a
under-
provisional position, he passed the test,
Yeah.
and now he is up for a permanent appointment. Now he's, I don't know what the title would be called now, it's not provisional anymore, it's temporary, full-time chief. I don't know what you would call it now, but it's not
No,
provisional.
we certainly
and he's
wouldn't
not
call it
permanent.
temporary. He is permanent. You just have to look at the probation period. That's all.
He's a probationary chief.
No, he was provisional, and now we are talking about a probationary period.
Okay, well then I would suggest the 26-week period. If you choose the 8-week period, Board of Trustees, what you're actually saying to the public is a person only has to serve that amount and only that amount. And after that amount is when the normal
He served
period
19
is,
months.
excuse me,
He
period
served
is
19
when
months.
that a person can be disciplined after 8 weeks.
You can always discipline, Chief.
Not according to civil service law, nothing before
you know,
8 weeks.
Well, let's put it in
And
front of the
Trustee Esek,
board.
I'm telling you right now, you're reading the law wrong. Okay? I have read the law, I have talked with the Civil Service Commission. Not sure exactly what you're referring to, but you're reading it wrong.
We're asking for some documentation.
So bottom line is, okay, if the board wants to go 26 weeks, that's up to the board, all right? Because this gentleman had served 19 months, it seems like it would make sense to do the 8-week probation. But that's up to the board.
Okay, see, I was getting confused because we had one person that we just terminated who did 50 or 70, 78 weeks. We have a new person who's gonna be appointed to a lieutenant who's doing 26 weeks. And we have another person who's gonna be appointed to a permanent chief position for 8 weeks. So that kind of piqued my curiosity, so that's why I looked into civil service law, and it states that you can't start disciplining somebody under a probationary period until after 8 weeks. So,
The problem is you should have called civil service, or you should have called me because you're reading it incorrectly.
So I'm just curious, so if, prior to an 8-week probationary period, if the employee does something that you're unhappy with, you can't do anything to them? You can't
Prior-
discipline them in any way?
only
No,
after 8
that's not the case. The idea being that it is a probationary period where the board could do anything they wanted to him during that period.
I thought probationary just meant that you could terminate a person for any, you didn't have to give a
That's
reason.
correct.
Without any reason.
Right.
Right, that's
As-
correct.
When they're in a probationary position. It doesn't mean that
Absolutely.
you can't discipline them or whatever.
Right,
Talk to
absolutely.
them or
Once
whatever,
they,
right?
even when someone is permanent, you can still discipline them.
Right.
I mean, it's not like they become untouchable.
I was just curious.
In the interest of recognizing the fact that before January, New York state law would have made Chief Walker permanent, okay? We wouldn't have had to do anything. Now, the fact that he's been here for 19 months
Right.
doing the same
I
thing,
understand,
the idea being, civil service and I spoke about it, and we thought the 8-week, the minimal probationary period would be appropriate. That's what we did the resolution for. You guys can do up to 26 weeks, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Attorney Guard, you need to show me in civil service where the minimum is 8 weeks. You really do. You can sigh, you can do what you want, and I will call civil service.
I
have never heard
appreciate
of a
if you
minimum
would,
of
because I'm
8
going to
weeks.
continue to sigh. The bottom line is, we've had this discussion for a week now with, between me and civil service. This is correct. You're reading the law incorrectly, and I think maybe it'd be better for you to hear it from them than to hear from me.
How could I be reading something that's very simple and straightforward wrong?
Dear God, I have no idea.
I just
Why
want
don't you call the
I just
civil
want to back up
service?
your documentation, that's all I'm saying. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but you're not providing me anything, only from what you
Okay,
discussed
you
on
didn't
the
ask me
phone.
to provide anything. I would have had something for you tonight, getting blindsided.
Well, I'm asking you
with this.
now, then I'd
Okay,
like to
well,
see documentation.
next time we'll have something for you.
Okay, that's all I asked for. How hard is that? You guys want to see some additional documentation to back up Dan Guard's,
Or you could just take the attorney's word for it.
which,
What?
okay. Which I'd rather see documentation in front of me.
Well, again, that's why I suggest you call civil service, so you don't hear it from me, so I can't be accused of telling you the wrong
I
thing.
mean, you had from Friday to today, excuse me, why don't you reach out to the attorney, to me, to anybody else? But you wait until we come here in front of the TV. We have our fire chief over there who is doing an excellent job, and we have this really not very civil discussion. Call
go
Mr. Doug. Why don't you call? From Friday to today, from Wednesday actually, you had the resolution.
Actually, Mayor, I wanted to discuss it with the rest of the board,
And discussing things by email, I don't feel is very
No,
transparent.
that's
So
fine, but
it has
you-
nothing to do with being in front of the TV, Mayor.
But
This
this is-
has nothing to do with grandstanding, absolutely not.
Of course not.
Excuse me, I have to finish my thought. You came here today as you're asking, that you didn't say, I want to discuss it with the board. You said, I want documentation. You could have had that documentation between Wednesday and today. That's why you have it. I mean, otherwise, we're going to give you the resolutions right now. And anybody is going to have a much easier time. But we are giving you the resolutions way in advance, so you read them. Oh, wait a minute, there is a problem here. I'm going to call the mayor, I'm going to call the treasurer, I'm going to call the clerk, I'm going to call the attorney, so I have all the information. And then we go to the meeting and we discuss it with the rest of the board. That's fine. But you come in here asking for additional information. That's your responsibility to have it by now. That's how I see it.
I see it differently.
Okay?
I also see it
Doug, I
differently.
just have a question. Are you just concerned that we're applying different rules to different people?
We're applying
Is that
different rules to
basically
different
the
people.
essence of your concern?
And that 8 weeks just coincidentally is a period that you can't discipline a probationary person for, and then after 8 weeks you can. So it just seemed very odd that we make somebody do 78 weeks. Normal, 78 weeks is in the firefighter's contract, and that's why cadet and probationary.
78 weeks?
78 weeks is in their contract.
Okay.
After 19 months,
I'm just-
I think of him working, I think that this is clearly, we're in a position of just giving, doing semantics of paperwork to make, so that he could continue in the position that he's doing. He's doing a fine job for our community. I don't know why you're debating the idea that we have to have an extended probationary period for a gentleman who has worked so diligently for our community for so many months already. We're only talking an 8-month or 8-week period probationary. It's not a new position that he's been working. He has been working in this position for a period of time. The other positions that we're talking about for 26 weeks is a position this man hasn't been in that position for a period of time. That's why that's 26 weeks. I don't know why it's so hard to understand.
Jim, it's not hard to understand. I have a different perspective than you. I've been in the fire service for 30 years. I have knowledge of different things that go on at the fire station and so forth. So I just have a difference of opinion. You see it from one point of view, I see it from another. It's not hard to understand. You may find it hard to understand my point of view. Trustee
Linden,
Trustee Christina, the difficulty, okay, I think we have to recognize the fact that part of this is a little bit of conflict, which is why he wasn't on the resolution, okay? And the other part of it is the inability to read the civil service law, okay? I you know, if anybody could do this, I wouldn't have to go to law school, okay? If anybody could do this, the Civil Service Commission wouldn't have training. He's reading the wrong section. Whatever the board wants to do, but anywhere between 8 and 26 weeks is authorized at this point.
Well, if you add the 19 plus the 8, that's 27 weeks of probation. So that's a week, right? Or the 19 months plus 8 is 27 months.
Right,
is
so
that
he's-
right?
he's-
So
essentially
it
he's
would be
already
a
been-
month beyond the 26, which
That's-
is one of the numbers that's been thrown about here.
Right, I mean, what
Essentially
happened
right,
was,
yes, that's kinda what I was getting at.
New York State came down during Chief Walker's time.
Right, I
okay?
understand.
They came down and said, okay, we need more additional courses, we need more additional testing.
Yeah.
Threw everybody in the whole state for a loop. This had never been done before. It was another one of those New York State laws where they passed without really considering what was gonna happen. This would have happened back in June, except for the fact that New York State passed this law and nobody knew how to implement it. So what we're doing is we're following the guidance of the Civil Service Commission and also the, Ryan, what's the name of that board, please? That approved your,
Office of Fire Protection.
thank you. The State Office of Fire Prevention, okay? We are following their guidance, all right? And that's the best we can do. Originally, Civil Service had told me we didn't even need 8 weeks because that would have been the old rules. Now, just to be on the safe side, we're asking for the 8, which is the minimum.
Thank you.
Can I
There was a letter sent out stating that from Francine.
I have not seen it, but Francine told me it was.
I have seen it, I don't have a copy of it, but it was, took effect of permanent appointment. I think the letter from them was dated June 8th and served a minimum of 8 weeks, up to 26 and a promotional permanent appointment.
That's correct.
Kara, if I could give you a little history, Kara, this administration, including this board and everybody here, dropped the ball when Chief Walker was provisionally appointed. Provisional appointments only last 9 months because we did not request civil service to issue a test for fire chief.
Doug, let me interrupt you here before you get too far. A test was called for as soon as the position was created by Mr. St. George at the end of October. It was filed in Chautauqua County. Chautauqua County sent the paperwork to New York State. The timeline for the state to issue an exam was beyond
The 9 months?
No, it was beyond their time to put it together. Fire chief's exam is only given every January each year throughout New York State.
Okay.
So November 1st, by the time the paperwork got from,
It was past that.
it was past the deadline for application. I asked, what do I do? They said, just wait till next year. In the meantime, the state changed the law on what the requirements were, and I took that exam, I want to say January 5th of 19 was the first eligible exam that was available to me through civil service.
Okay. One other thing, Attorney Guard, yes, I do not have a law degree. I do know how to read. I have an associate's degree, so I'm pretty sure I'm able to read some basic law here.
I'm sorry, you evidently not.
That's your opinion.
Well, it's civil services opinion.
So, the rest of the Board of Trustees, that's my thoughts on this. You can do as you may.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, going forward. The workshop and board meeting format. I was looking through the resolution that you passed about a year ago, a little more than a year ago. And the resolution that you passed on April the 23rd, 2018 states, be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia hereby adopts the following procedure regarding resolutions. Number one, any single trustee may sponsor a resolution to be placed on the agenda of the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Any such resolutions shall be submitted to the village clerk no later than 1 p.m. on the Wednesday prior to said meeting. Number two, any resolution submitted after the above deadline shall require 2 trustees as sponsors. The rest go into the actual meeting. The reason I'm bringing this forward is that has been this board expects the agenda, the full agenda, by the end of the day Wednesday, which puts a lot of pressure on Anne Marie and on Dan, because if somebody brings a request for resolution at 1 o'clock, obviously that it's very difficult to complete the resolution by 4. There is nothing in the resolution that requires Anne Marie to send the agenda on Wednesday and then send supplementary and then send another resolution. So I would just advise that unless you want to pass an extra resolution, you're going to have the full agenda by Friday, end of the day, if it's all right with all of you. I think it's nothing
For the meeting on
unreasonable. For the meeting on Monday, correct.
That gives us how much time to,
Gives you 3 days,
3 days?
yes.
Okay. I think that's a little difficult for me. I don't know about the rest of the board. I own my own company, and tonight I scrambled to get done, close my business at 5:30 to be here by 6. And then I have to do some investigating, or at least research, or call the attorney to find out information, and I don't think 3 days is really enough time.
You had that from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So you had it for 5 days. You could have done all this
Yeah, but
investigation.
what you're proposing, you're saying now we're getting everything by Friday.
Well, I'm just saying that there is nothing in the resolution, because at the same time, because you're not here, you don't know how she runs all over the place to collect all the background information, to give you all a complete agenda, written correctly, with all the resolutions and everything else inside. So in the interest of making a little bit easier, the whole process. We very rarely have resolutions that are very complicated. And if they are, I mean, by all means, we can extend it. We can go another 2 weeks if you need more time, if the board needs more time. I'm just suggesting that the time between 1 o'clock on Wednesday, that's the last time that any of you can request something from Anne Marie, and 4 o'clock, where she has to have all the background information, talk to Dan, write the resolution, go back and forth, find sponsors, it's just not enough time. So,
Would the board consider maybe moving our meeting day to a Wednesday,
No,
a Tuesday?
that Wednesday would conflict with the town council.
We have other meetings, other committees.
Okay. I'm just trying to
Tuesdays
think
and
of a
Wednesdays
way
and
to
Thursdays.
provide more time in between getting the agendas and information and dissecting that before a meeting.
Well, how about,
That's it.
how about if we move it to Thursday?
no, not move it, but we can do
All we have
this.
to do is move the resolution deadline according to your last.
Exactly, we can move the resolution
Yeah, I
time
mean,
2
you
days
can, you
before,
can, I mean, move it back to the,
Monday.
a Monday. I mean, so you got a whole week. I mean, that's fine. That would be better than moving the
So
meeting day.
if we move it to Monday, then you can have the agenda by Wednesday, and then you can have enough then. Is that all right with everyone?
That would seem like that would work appropriately.
Anne Marie, how does that sound to you?
You understand what I'm saying?
Can you please repeat it, what you're going to do?
How does that sound, I mean, does that sound workable to you?
When do you want the resolutions?
By Wednesday.
By Wednesday, but the deadline
would be
for
Monday.
asking is going to be Monday.
Perfect.
So do we need to pass another resolution to
Yes.
fix that?
anything past Wednesday,
Anything past
to
Wednesday
the agenda,
would need to be sponsored by 2
By
trustees.
2 and provide
do
all
we
the,
have a deadline time for that? Or do we just say up until the meeting night?
Up until the meeting night, because the problem is we've got, everything keeps moving. Everything keeps moving. The village can't be run, it's a multi-million-dollar corporation. It can't be run every other Tuesday. So we're gonna have, while we try to get everything to the trustees so they have plenty of time, at the same time, you can't say, well, we're gonna wait another additional 2 weeks for something that needs to get done.
There are also employees that need to be hired
Yep.
and emergencies that come up.
Well, that's where special meetings come in too.
Right, but
But we try to limit the
two
special meetings.
trustees sponsoring it would get it on the agenda. And then reports may or may not be there by Wednesday, is that all right with you?
well, reports can go to the next meeting, that's
Yeah,
not a
okay.
problem.
I
Yeah.
mean, I've had numerous conversations with my dad. He was a trustee for 12 years, and Jim can verify that. I mean, workshops are always done in the alternate, like every alternating week for the agenda the following week. So that gave those guys plenty of time to do the real work that they needed to do. Oh, I have, many a times. And YouTube is
Yeah,
definitely,
there was a meeting every week.
literally is a meeting every week.
Workshop one week, and then the regular board meeting the
Right.
following.
And if there wasn't enough on the board meeting or the resolutions for that meeting, the workshop was canceled, basically.
Yeah.
I mean,
But we
not
do
too
the
often,
same
but it
thing
was an
right now.
opportunity to have what they
Back
call
then, they
a
very
workshop.
rarely
But
canceled
we do the
meetings.
same thing right now. None of these things on the resolution is new. None of this is brought today. Everything was discussed in the previous meetings, and then the resolution is being forward today, and again, you have the last word on the resolution. This is not new, so whatever we discuss today is going to be on the next meeting, not today. So we are doing that.
They are? Okay.
And actually, I was counting the meetings the other day, and by go every other week, we have 28 meetings this year, I apologize. The old system was going to give us 26, so we have more meetings than before. And that's the other thing that we need to discuss. Starting the meeting at 6 o'clock and incorporating the workshop in it. I have to say that most of the employees have come forward suggesting and supporting that. I support it for the same reason. Most of these people work since 7:30 in the morning. They come here and the chiefs don't even get paid for being here. So if we can do it so they can go back to their houses, their homes, and their families a little earlier without stopping the public, obviously, from coming and commenting and being part of this, I think it would be a good idea.
Chiefs and department heads, no disrespect, but I believe attending board meetings is part of your job. So you are getting paid for this. You know, your salary, and, you know, you may work 40 hours, you may work 80 hours. So in essence, you are getting paid. This is part of your job to attend meetings. So I appreciate.
I definitely think sometime with you in the summer, it's like,
I under-
you know, that's all
I understand, but to
I
make
never
it
said
clear.
that I said they're not compensated extra. I said that they are working all day, and I think if we can do it so everybody can go home half an hour earlier, it's not such a big deal. I'm not stopping the meetings, I'm not
Well, I mean,
suggesting that.
Let's put the shoe on the other foot, though. I mean, I get out of work at 5:30. There are people that would like to attend, the public would like to attend the meeting. I believe we should push the time back a little bit more to allow people to go home, have dinner, relax a few minutes, and then be able to attend the meeting.
Have you seen too many people coming and complaining about
I mean,
that?
obviously, it's difficult. I try to make a phone call this week to have a couple of my friends stop by, because I have some things on the agenda I'd like to discuss. And they said, Raj, I get out of work at 5:30. I don't have time. I gotta eat, I gotta take my kid to the soccer at 6. I'd love to come if it was later.
Listen, the only thing here was that the other day when I wasn't here, I understand that the workshop was 15 minutes, and then everybody had to wait for another 45 minutes just sitting there until the actual meeting.
We're here for the public. I was elected by the people of the public.
No, you were here for nothing because the workshop is done, and then you waited for 45 minutes to
That's
start the
fine.
meeting.
That's what I was elected to do. I could sit here all night until they show up. That's really what I was elected, but my
I don't
point
think
being
I'm
is, I
talking
don't
about
mind.
that.
I just think 6 o'clock is just too early. I just.
Okay, how
speaking
about we
from-
start at 6:30, but again, we start the meeting at 6:30. We have the workshop in the beginning, and then we go straight to the meeting.
I'm just voicing my opinion. It's up to the board. I'm just saying,
I mean,
based on just people I've talked to, the public, it's very difficult right now.
6:30, we start the meeting at 6:30. The first portion of the meeting is the workshop. The only reason we're doing that is so that we have a set time. Now, the actual meeting, reading the resolutions, obviously, is going to go to 7, it's going to go to 7:30, depending on the length of the workshop. So if 6:30 is better than 6, I'm all for it.
Well, the Board of Trustees controls the meetings. Does anyone else have an opinion or want to talk about it?
like 6 o'clock, I'm fine at 6.
Are we gonna, we
Dr. Barrett?
Are we talking only 6 o'clock through the summer hours and then 6:30?
I'd like it to be 6 o'clock year-round myself.
Well, because I didn't know if you were getting at 6 o'clock year-round, or
It's up
you
to
were...
you. I mean, the reason we come in, we have a resolution is because there is a resolution out there and a schedule out there with a specific time.
Well, we're
We're
currently,
trying to change the time, so that's.
well, currently you have the schedule out there for the summer months at 6 o'clock, and then, of course, and then winter months, the rest of the year at 6:30.
Right.
But the general, regular portion of the meeting starts at 7 throughout the year. Well, it's a half
7:30.
half-hour difference, yeah, you're right.
Right.
Okay, so,
I mean, so to make myself clear.
Just bring that
and that was,
together,
you
is
know,
what
that
you're
was
saying.
Jim's suggestion, and I liked it.
What did they do
It
when
was
my dad
to
was
go
on the
from one to the other seamlessly. We
Right.
finish the workshop, we got resolutions.
Right, there have been several times where we've sat here like for 45 minutes or an hour, kind of just waiting for the.
so what you're
something to
saying
start.
really is not really about the start time, so we could continue for the summer months, be at 6 o'clock, the rest of the year at 6:30.
It's not
But
the
it's just a
starting,
matter of
just
starting
to
the
Consolidate the two.
consolidating the two, so that one leads into the next without the
Yeah,
wait.
that's exactly what
without
I'm
the wait.
suggesting.
So,
Years ago, Roger, they had their workshops on a different night than the regular board meeting. But that didn't mean that, when they called for the regular board meeting, that there couldn't be discussions, which, it's all part of the, call it what you want, workshop, part of the board meeting. I mean, it's pretty much one and the same, so, but you're not, except that you're not having workshops other than on a board meeting night. So, I'm a new guy here right now, it just seemed to me like, there, on the occasions where you only had 15 minutes worth of workshop, it was pretty ridiculous to sit around here for 45 minutes, and do nothing. That was the only, so I suggested that incorporate the workshop as part, start the board meeting, go into a workshop session, doesn't make any difference, it's It's all part of the public, you're here for the public. And then at the end of your workshop, then you go into your regular meeting, pass your resolutions, and so that was the thought, so.
We discussed this the last meeting, that's why we're rehashing it again here.
We didn't really have a discussion, we just, basically, she presented what she wanted to do, and
And,
we just didn't really discuss it, so, and then I had time to talk, and people had time to call me and text me and say, this is their opinion, and just voicing their opinion also.
Excellent. So
As
if
lo-
we are in agreement, let's,
To be able to open, so you would open the regular meeting at the start time, and then just goes right into the next, right into the.
Right, we'd open the regular meeting, because the open meetings law doesn't make any differentiation, just like Jim was saying. It doesn't make any differentiation between a workshop and a board meeting, okay? That's the old Fredonia way of doing things. Nobody else that I'm aware of did it that way, but
It's just a matter of advertising.
exactly. So what we're doing is we're looking for the meeting with the first item on the agenda being the workshop. That is completely legal. It saves us an extra notice under the open meetings law, and it also allows us to conduct the public's business in a more, time-effective manner.
Does the rest of the board feel comfortable keeping though the times, the summer times at 6, and then after July and August, going back to a 6:30 start time, incorporating that model?
Yeah, that's fine, but I don't want it to be later.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's okay.
I mean,
I like
I
6
wouldn't
o'clock,
mind
but.
6:30 all year round, but that's okay. What we're doing now
I mean,
is, start time is fine.
okay, very good. Oh, done with that. So we have the village hall generator. By now you know that the generator came a little more expensive than we thought, about $107,000. Yeah, and obviously it was not as we expected. So now we're getting 3 prices, 3 quotes.
Tony worked with an engineer that gave us the original estimate of $65,000. I think the misunderstanding was that was the unit, not the work. Beck Electric came back
Oh, that's
in.
why.
Yeah, they just, that was
Okay.
the cost.
Yeah, the unit. So Beck came in, gave a quote, we, utilizing their specs and removing their costs, we gave it back to the engineer. The engineer has sent that out to 2 other people. I actually forwarded those emails to you, Jim, from the engineer today. I forwarded them to you. It's just he CC'd us on his request from these other electricians for a bid.
All right,
So, we now have it out to 3 people for a bid. They haven't come back yet, but we got it out.
yeah.
I also suggested that we install
Temporary.
a temporary generator for until the permanent one is installed, because it sounds like the permanent one is going to be quite an installation. To the point where, because of the size of it, its footprint is too large to put where the old one was. They're recommending that it now be moved to basically where the shed is, because that's in close proximity to the gas meter. That box out there is the natural gas meter. So their recommendation was to actually put the generator out by the gas meter, the gas house, or I don't know what you
Out
call it.
or inside?
Right here.
Yeah,
No,
by the
it'd
shed.
have its own separate
Okay,
thing.
okay.
And so that would mean that you'd raise the wrath of the farm festival people, or the farmers market people, because we'd have to move their shed. But they're certainly more than welcome to put their shed where the existing generator is, and that makes that problem go away.
Sure.
But I feel that the temporary generator should be covered by insurance. I sent an email that I received from the insurance carrier to everyone back on June 11th, indicating that we're not entitled to the full amount, we're just entitled to its value at the time of the incident, and asking for direction. I never really heard back from anybody about a direction. Also in that was the recommendation that we contact our insurance carrier, Trident, to kind of do this battle for us. I don't think any of that's happened. I asked the board for input on it and direction, and no one really got back to me since June 11th, so. That's where we're at.
So, and I'm very nervous to be without a generator.
Well, last week for
It's-
2 hours, we were without a generator, and that, when we're without a generator, we're without radios. We can't even communicate with the officers on the road, because the radios go down.
And telephones.
And the telephones went down. Telephones hung on for about 15 or 20 minutes with the battery backup, but then we lost the telephones, and we were actually communicating with each other on personal cell phones, because the village doesn't provide officers with cell phones. So they're actually using their personal cell phones to communicate with dispatch, to answer calls and direct traffic.
Greg, can something be done with the portable generators that like the college has or other companies around here that we could contact, you think? Is that what you're
We
looking
could rent
to
a
do?
yeah, what I'd like to do is rent a generator and have it installed until the permanent generator is put in place. The problem is, there's a cost associated with that, and who's gonna bear the cost of that? Because that's only gonna drive up the $104,000 cost that we're already facing for the generator that will run all of Village Hall. But
The one you would rent though would just be for your department though, wouldn't it?
correct, it would just be the one that would, but it would require the rental plus an electrician to come and wire it.
Now, Barry, when you say all of Village Hall, we're talking all 3 or 4 three floors? Is that what?
The
we're talking?
$104,000 or $106,000 quote that I have, and we really shouldn't be talking about the number because we got 2 more bids out there waiting to come in. That number that we have is for all of Village Hall.
So that includes the Opera House, correct?
Yes.
Do you think that part of that grant for the Opera House can pay, let's say, $20,000 towards that generator, Nate?
I would say potentially when we pitched the possibility of a improved or new HVAC unit for the Opera House, the state didn't say no, but they didn't look upon that.
Because, to be honest, part of what is in my mind to want a generator for the whole building is because I'm afraid that something's going to happen, and the Opera House is going to be full of people, and all of a sudden there's going to be no way of getting them out in an emergency. So we really need this generator to facilitate that for the safety of the people who are in there.
Shouldn't there be emergency lighting, Brad?
There is emergency lighting in the Opera House that's battery operated, that I will tell you, fails on a regular basis.
Okay.
Those batteries, there's nothing that on those lights that go off indicating that the batteries are down. So you never know when the batteries go down.
Those should be tested.
Excellent.
regularly.
So, they're-
Those are supposed to be tested.
But
regularly. They're supposed to be 90
you know,
minute,
again, who's,
90-minute timeline.
under who, the cleaner? Like, who's testing batteries regularly? I mean, you know.
No
I will say
one.
that this last week when the power went out, the Opera House, those lights were operating. There was no other lights in the remainder of the Village Hall. Everything else was dark in here, and the Opera House was lit.
Well, that's nice to know.
The other thing I want to point out is that in an emergency, in a natural disaster, Village Hall should be a gathering place. It should be a place where people don't even have to think. It's a place they can come, get warm, find shelter. And that's not an option without a generator that runs all of Village Hall. We couldn't even use Village Hall as a command center in a crisis,
Don't we usually use the Fredonia Fire Department for command center?
which is actually built on a floodplain. Yes.
Well, I agree.
Well,
upstairs.
so,
I agree, but we have.
I think
There's
it's
no
I personally believe this is a no-brainer that you build, that you buy a generator that operates all of Village Hall. To me, when we first installed it, I pushed for that. I lost. I will again push for that. I believe that you should have a generator that runs all of Village Hall.
I think our board understands that. Hopefully, thank
This
you.
is an emergency situation. I'm expecting a hurricane on Wednesday. We need a temporary generator by Tuesday night. We've known about this absence of the electrical generator for 6 months. The board has been severely negligent.
I'm not sure if we can do it by Tuesday night. I agree if we expect a tornado. I mean, I don't know.
I have a question for Dan. This would qualify as an emergency emergency purchase, wouldn't it? Is that what you're?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because then we wouldn't have to go to a formalized bid, he's going through
Right,
the
we don't
bidding
have to go to a
process
formalized bid.
informally.
Absolutely.
And- Okay.
Under
That's what I
our,
was saying.
under our procurement policy, okay?
Yeah.
And I was, and really, we were, when it was gonna be about 60, I was saying, okay, let's just do it on an emergency basis. When we actually started getting quotes, they were over 100. I said, well, you know what, it shouldn't take that long. Let's get 2 more written quotes, just to make everybody happy, so there's no question. We actually could have gone with the emergency and let that be the end of it. We were just trying belt and suspenders.
Are you requesting emergency action on a portable generator to stand by until we, is that what you're
Yes.
requesting? Okay.
Yeah.
You're not talking about the emergency purchase of a generator for the entire building at this point?
Well, as long as the temporary generator is in place to supply the police department.
Okay.
So,
Was an indication of the cost of a temporary generator?
I haven't gotten any estimates back on that.
And,
I've asked for, by the way, I've asked for estimates. I haven't gotten any back.
and that installation would be done by who?
We don't know yet. They would really fall on who we rented it from.
Let me ask you this, Brad, worst case scenario, if a storm of whatever magnitude or whatever, you lost power for any significant time, could we call the college or somebody, county or intermunicipal cooperation here and just like emergency interim and get it done?
Could be called the New York State Office of Military Affairs.
I don't know.
I'm just thinking, I mean, I see the college has big generators on trailers. DFT has,
They're probably gonna be using theirs, I would assume. And the timeline to bring it down and connect it to our building could be,
the same as if you
Large.
purchase
I mean,
a,
can you find out tomorrow morning, call them again, see who can do that?
Yes.
I mean, that's the easiest way, and maybe you can contact the college as well, to see if there is a possibility, if we need it. I mean, maybe we won't need it, hopefully.
Sure.
But if we can find out tomorrow what's going on, we can take action right after.
Chief, I speak for myself on this one. I apologize for not responding to this. I just assumed this would be on a workshop session following your email, and I assumed incorrectly.
It's fine, it's just, it caught us last week and kind of brought, to the forefront again that this really isn't something we should be sitting back on.
right. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Right, thank you.
I'd like to thank the police department for their service on Tuesday, July 9th. So they were directing traffic at several traffic lights which had failed. Their service was appreciated.
Thank you. All right, do you have anything else?
yes, open discussion. In our resolutions here for minutes read and approved here, we have executive board minutes. Reviewing those executive board minutes, we took an action in an executive board previously on,
And we can do that, we can amend those minutes.
my point is, those minutes should only reflect a synopsis of the action that was taken and not the entire executive session and specific details. It's only supposed to give you a synopsis of the action that was taken and the vote. The minutes that are going to be approved, are proposed to be approved, contain specifics to our executive session, which is not public. The action that was taken and the vote are what is to be submitted for public knowledge.
I believe Anne Marie called the state and they gave her specific instructions, so.
Again, trustee, you're incorrect. The law, okay, requires us to have the vote, but the law also makes it the privilege, okay? Executive is not nobody can speak out of here. And God knows that a lot of trustees do speak out of executive session. The truth is that this one needed a little background to make sense. And Anne Marie did talk to NICOM. I did exhaustive research on this. I did speak to the gentleman at NICOM who wrote the Open Meetings Law Handbook, and this is totally kosher.
So we can include every detail of executive session, of personnel business.
That is your privilege, Trustee Ezek. If you want something in the minutes for the executive session, it is your privilege as a trustee to say so and have the meeting minutes amended accordingly.
And just so everybody knows, an executive session isn't a separate meeting. It's actually part of the.
Absolutely, it's just the part that
That excludes the public.
It's just the part that the public doesn't sit through the discussion. That's correct.
And
I mean,
it's-
everything that happens in executive session is still a matter of public record. I give you an example that's kind of timely. The Declaration of Independence was actually voted on in executive session. Executive session doesn't mean you can't conduct business. It just lets you out of the public eye for what you think is appropriate. But it is what you think is appropriate. If there's something happens in executive session, you want to add it to the minutes? Absolutely.
So you're saying a summary of the action taken and the vote count is not the only thing that can be subject to be placed into the meeting minutes?
The operative word, and you just use the correct one, is can. Doesn't have to be, can.
And who makes the decision on writing this to allow the executive session minutes? Should this be recorded after every meeting? Let's just say last week, last meeting we had an executive session. Why aren't the minutes or the vote, which was taken in executive session, why is that
I just want
included
to
in
say
this?
something, that and I have the two decisions by the Committee of Open Government from the State Controller that says specifically, although as a matter of practice or policy, many public bodies approve minutes of their meetings, there is nothing in the open meeting law or other law known to me that requires that minutes be approved.
Right.
So we have the minutes, and they are available to the public.
Right.
That's all it matters. From that point on, nothing else. They approved, they approve. They don't approve, they don't. The only thing that you, as trustees, the board can do and should do, actually, is to go through the minutes, make sure that they are correct, and amend them. Say that this didn't happen, I'm sorry, or this, something separate happens.
Or determine to limit what is proposed to be put in the
But you
minutes.
cannot determine that, because you can say that I don't want that in the meetings, in the minutes. However, it's the privilege of every board member to go out and talk about it, unfortunately.
Then what's I'm missing the whole point of executive session then, because.
The whole point of executive session is that we can have a discussion which does not have to be in the public eye, but can be. That's the whole point.
So if I call for an
In
executive.
this particular case, when we're talking about executive session minutes, one of the trustees raised an issue that the business being conducted should not have been conducted in executive session, but should have been conducted at the open meeting. That's why and if you want to put it on me, put it on me. I said, in the interest of transparency, let's give the trustee what he asked for.
So why all of a sudden, I've been on the board now 19 months. I can only speak for myself. I have never seen executive minutes placed on in the meeting. But yet this particular event on that date, April 29th, happened to be in tonight's meeting.
Because you asked for it. You said they were not approved. So if they were not approved, the action is not valid. We looked into it. I looked into it. She looked into it. He called everybody. So to make sure that we're doing things in the right manner, and to make sure that we're being transparent enough, to make sure that actually, even if the minutes were not approved, the action is still valid, because you are taking action in the executive session. So in the interest of just being transparent, that's the only thing. And nobody has them, if you ask. Just you. Just the board has the minutes. Approve them or not, it's just,
But after this meeting, if we approve them, they're going to be public knowledge.
They're public
No.
before.
A week after, yes.
7 days after the meeting, they have to be available for public inspection, period. Regardless
People are
of
made to
whether,
foil them, even
have to
trustees.
foil-
Right, regardless of whether the board approves them or not, because like what we said, was that the board doesn't have to approve it, that's kind of an old way of doing things, that there is absolutely no law which requires the board to approve the minutes, they just happen. So we
It's
give the
policy.
trustees the ability to amend if they'd like, but the truth is, the board minutes just happen. And like a lot of communities, Fredonia has a practice, longstanding practice, of approving the minutes, bringing them before the trustees to allow them to look at and make any corrections. But the truth of the matter is, the clerk can just write the minutes, have them available for public inspection within 7 days, and this board never has to see them again.
I mean, the board can go and read them.
Yep.
So if there was any corrections after 7 days, you're out of luck.
No, if there's any corrections after 7 days, when you have the opportunity to vote and review the minutes, we're giving you the opportunity, go ahead and make the corrections.
What happens if something was wrong in there that's detrimental to somebody's reputation or character, and somebody within 7 days from the public sees that, but our meeting to correct that is in 10 days,
So what you're saying is something from the minutes are incorrect?
and it could be slanderous or
Okay, so
whatever.
what from the minutes are incorrect?
I'm not saying this here.
So then what's the problem?
It could happen.
Yeah, and aliens could come down and take my brain too, but it doesn't matter. The law is the law. You have the opportunity to amend the minutes, amend them if you want.
Okay.
So if
And just to clarify everything, Anne Marie records the minutes so she can have a full picture of what's going on. Because I don't remember everything, you don't remember everything. She doesn't remember everything, but she has it on tape.
But those tapes are not maintained because they don't have
No.
to be.
Yes.
State says it's a good idea not to.
Yes,
okay?
they're not.
So
So,
records have to be maintained for a certain number of years.
no,
If you
those
do it
tape
with
recordings
tape
do not
recordings.
need, for executive session, again, trustee Essick, you're incorrect. The tapes do not have to be maintained. Those qualify as the notes of the clerk. And once she transcribes whatever she wants into the minutes, those tapes don't require to be maintained. These aren't Rosario materials from the police department. These are just the clerk's private notes. Knowing this was going to come up, believe me, I read everything that there is on the subject. I called NICOM 3-4 times. I talked with other communities. What I'm giving you, this information is absolutely correct.
Alrighty. One more thing, at the end of the meeting, I'd like to call for an executive session.
Okay, and that's a good idea because I would like to say that from now on, the executive session are going to be at the end of the meeting so people can go home. All right, are we ready?
We're ready.
Right, please rise.
Allegiance to the flag
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, I call this meeting to order. At a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, duly called and held on the 15th day of July 2019 at 7 p.m. in the Trustees' Room, 7:30 p.m., I apologize, second floor, Village Hall, Fredonia, New York, and public notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given to the news media and conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations in accordance with Section 104 of the Open Meeting Law.
Whereas members of this board present at this meeting have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of July 1st, 2019, and whereas members of this board present at this meeting have read the official executive session minutes of April 29th, 2019, and therefore be it resolved this board approves the minutes as entered into the official minutes, and be it further resolved that the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
I second that.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essick?
No,
What's wrong with the minutes?
I don't agree with how the official minutes of executive session are presented.
Okay, I just want you to know that if this doesn't pass, this is a reflection on her job performance.
It's not a reflection on your
It
job,
is.
Anne Marie.
Yes,
This is my, no, actually, don't put words in my mouth or thoughts into my head or thoughts in Anne Marie's head. It's a no. Thank you, Mayor.
That was according to the law from the previous attorney. So Trustee Bridge?
I would also like to say no. And the reason for it is I see that we have a change in our agenda from Wednesday at a specific time to Friday at 3:51. The email was sent to me that said, "Good morning, per Mayor Landis. I have attached the executive minutes to April 29th session to the email. They are included in the agenda of the board meeting for Monday, July 15th to be approved. For that reason, I wanted to add the executive minutes to the April 1st meeting, now that Dan Gard has cleared the air and verified that I need to present to the board, I would like to include minutes. So for that reason, I'm not allowed to include these minutes. I do not vote for this particular issue. Thank you.
Trustee Barris.
Aye.
So the minutes are approved. Public portion.
This portion of the meeting is for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak, once recognized, shall stand and state their name and address. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes if speaking for themselves or 5 minutes if speaking on behalf of a group. I will ask the speakers to refrain from remarks that are in poor taste, slanderous, or not germane to any action taken or contemplated by the board.
Roger Pecos, 16 Woodcrest Drive. Regarding moving the executive session to the end of the meeting, when the school district does that, they state that no action will be taken after that executive session. Is that how this is going to operate too? So this way people feel like they can leave and nothing's going to happen after they leave?
What I meant by that is that if people want to wait until the action is announced or not action is announced, that's perfectly fine. I'm just trying to not have people wait here for half an hour.
But my question is, will official action be could official action be taken after the executive session, or would that be on the following meeting? Anything that was discussed at executive session?
I think that's a question for our attorney.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving the executive session to the very end for the benefit of the public is a very nice idea, but not like exactly what you're saying. That raises an issue. Okay, 99% of the time when executive sessions are held, no action has been taken. But just like I said, I mean, the Declaration of Independence was voted on in executive session. Important things can happen at that time, and that's why, from a legal perspective, you either have to not put it at the end, or you have to approve whatever action at the following meeting.
Approve whatever action by the following day? Is that what you said?
No, the following meeting.
Oh, following meeting, okay.
Right, which in this case, the meetings are 2 weeks apart, so that's a little bit of a thing. But I mean,
So you said that we cannot have it at the end?
no, we absolutely can, Mayor, we absolutely can, but it does create that issue.
If there would be an action, I suppose we could call for a special meeting as well, if that
Which
actually-
seems like we're going around in circles. So I mean, again,
Call it what you
we're
may,
trying
it's what have to
to,
happen.
we're trying to make everything easy for the public, and I appreciate that. We want public involvement. At the same time, to put that at the very end basically robs the board of their ability to take action in that executive session.
Then maybe we should just keep it like it's been, or some, I mean, if it's anticipated no action is actually going to be taken, but it needs to be discussed in executive session, you can do it at the end, but if there's a possibility of action might be taken, you'd have to hold it before the official meeting starts.
And strictly speaking, we're not supposed to plan executive sessions.
true.
It's supposed to be an emergency. It's supposed to be something that comes up, okay? Some of them we know about, personnel issues that have been going on during the past 2 weeks. We know we're gonna have to talk about those. Other things that might come up, you don't know.
So the answer thank you for the question. The answer is that if we anticipate no action to be taken, it's like a personnel discussion only, then we can have it at the end. But if there is a possibility that action will be taken, then we're going to have it during the meeting so the board can come up and ratify that.
And to go back to the charter, that is the mayor's decision.
The reason for my question is I could see instances where you may not be taking action, but I could also see an instance where you
You're
want to.
You're absolutely correct.
You're correct, yes. Thank you very, very much for that. Anything else?
Hi. Chip Rewalt, 188 Liberty Street. Your discussion regarding the meetings and having the meeting after the workshop. I've been here a long time, and that has been discussed several times before from other boards and other situations. Personally, I think it's a great idea, only because it allows the flow to move forward. There's been many times, and I even sitting here like today, we're not starting our meeting almost to 8:30. 7:30, we didn't start this meeting that's supposed to start at 7 o'clock. Your workshops may go long, may go short. It's just a flow of the level. And I did vote for you all of you, or the individuals,
So I do have an opinion of that. And as a person, not even just an employee, I'm not employee, but working and doing these meetings time after time, it's just an easier flow to just go right into the next meeting and move forward. We're delaying both not the operation, but you're delaying a lot of time where it just seems like maybe you moving forward would be a better idea than trying to stop and halfway and just go forward and move on to the next meeting to the next one. Because it just gets really tiring sitting up here or sitting back here and hearing what you've discussed in the workshop, which is what you do. You discuss it in the workshop, and when it comes to the meeting, it's a vote. It's either a yay or nay. And that's when your time is your time to vote. Say, we've been putting on YouTube for a long time, so if somebody misses something, they're more than welcome to go to that system and come back to the next meeting the following Monday or whatever and voice their opinion based on what they've heard from the system. So I think at the time when they had meetings different, we didn't have that option. Now we have that option. We have an opportunity to go back and look back at meetings if we need to discuss things so the public want to come, which we've never not encouraged the public not to come to a meeting. But at the same time, we're able to offer them that package. And moving forward to the next meeting doesn't stop any of that. It's still going to give them opportunity to talk about things. But thank you.
Very much. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yes, Vicki Cunningham, 179 Seymour Street. Recently, as a taxpayer, I requested a copy from Anne Marie of the charter, and I was told in the email that she had to ask Dan Guard if I could have a copy. I'd like to know, since when, being a taxpayer, if I request a copy of something and I'll pay for it, any cost, why does it have to go through the village attorney?
I think it's because Anne Marie didn't work here long enough. You can go on the website, you can download it, you can print it.
I
It's
know
easy.
I can do all that, but I asked for a copy here, and that's
I'm
what I
sure
was
you can
told.
have a copy. I don't think that's a
I got a
problem.
copy,
We can
and
we
I-
can print it for you. It's-
Okay.
The
But
charter is
that's
readily
misinformation
available.
that's getting out, that the village attorney has to approve a copy of something in the clerk's office.
I went out for a glass of water and get a little coffee.
That I requested a copy of the charter.
Sure.
And was told that the clerk had to check with you if I
No,
could have a copy.
the charter is always available in the clerk's
Okay,
office
then
by
I
law,
understand that, but
period.
that's not what happened.
Yeah,
Why
I
did-
understand that,
Why is
and-
this happening?
It only happened once to my knowledge, and I apologize.
No, and then you did everything, I mean, you were very kind to me on an email and everything, but I've never heard, but
No,
I've never
that's-
heard of a
That
village
was not
attorney
an
being
instruction that
consulted.
she ever got.
What's
See,
that?
That was not an instruction that nobody ever gave her. So she thought, I don't know for what reason, that she had to ask.
Okay,
She did
so
not have to
If
ask.
I request a copy of the minutes and things, does it all have to go through?
No,
No.
nothing, everything is available.
Okay,
They're available for public inspection. Now, if you do want a copy of the charter, like a written copy, that's gonna cost you some money because they are big and there's copying charges and stuff that are approved by the board.
Right.
But no, if you were told that was a mistake, and Anne Marie is doing the very best she can. She's doing a fantastic job.
And I have nothing- she was nothing but kind.
And she made a mistake and she's accepted that and that we're good.
okay.
They're also available online. I just realized they're all on our village website.
Yeah, I believe that the charter is also on the village website.
You have to copy and paste it though to download it, to copy it. So
That is
that's
a
why I just wanted to make it
technological
easy
nightmare, I
and
understand.
get a copy, so.
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody else? Close the public portion. My report is very small, actually. We had History Days, and it was a wonderful event, very nicely attended. I had a very good time, very good music, very good food, and overall, great job once again by Festival Fredonia. So thank you very much for everything you're doing for the village. That's my report. Trustee Christina.
Nothing tonight.
Trustee Linden.
I have no report.
Trustee Esek.
No.
Trustee Bridge.
Yes, I have a report tonight. I'd like to congratulate the Festivals Fredonia History Day Committee and Chairman Todd Langworthy for another successful event. I had the pleasure of driving the village trolley for 2 of the history tours on Saturday. I collected $9 in tips, as counted by myself and Todd. So I'd like to hand that over to the clerk to be put in our fund. Thank you very much. I also had many compliments regarding the condition and cleanliness of the trolley, but unfortunately, that is not how I found it on Wednesday evening. I'd like to read an email that I received, or I sent out Wednesday, approximately 8:30 p.m. At approximately 7:15 p.m. tonight, which would have been Wednesday, Trustee Essick and myself went to pick up the trolley from the DPW yard and get it ready for detailing for the weekend's Histories event. Upon our arrival, we were disappointed to see that the village-owned equipment had been left with the doors open, driver window open, and the key with a fuel fob still left in the ignition. The battery switch had been left on, and the trolley could not start due to a dead battery. I closed up the trolley, removed the key, and dropped them off at the police station. I sent 2 pictures along with what I had found that evening. I got a response at approximately 9:15 p.m. from Kara, Trustee Kara. When was the last time the trolley was used and whom? I responded at approximately 9:26 p.m. I picked up the trolley on June 11th from Rotunda Grape Farm located on East Main and drove it to the village barns. I removed the key, turned off the power, closed the door, and after that I had no idea. The next email came from Dr. Barris at approximately 1:52 a.m. on Thursday morning. Noted. The following email came in at Thursday morning around 8:43 a.m. from Mayor Landis. Good morning. The trolley was stored over the winter at another facility, was delivered to the DPW about 3 to 4 weeks, presumably by Trustee Britz. At the time, the roof was leaking and water was dripping from the light fixtures. At the request of Trustee Essick, DPW workers started working on it as time permitted. Yesterday morning, they were asked by DFT to move the trolley and dig a ditch for the conduit for the new cameras, which they did. They did make the mistake to leave the doors open. It didn't close very well to begin with, and with the keys in the ignition, they were physically exhausted because of the heat. Had anyone told them that someone was going to pick up after hours, they would have made sure that the trolley was ready, or at the very least, call and explain. Better communication would have been more helpful. Signed, Dr. Landis, Mayor. That was the last correspondence until I received another one from Doug Essick, dated around time stamped sometime around 9:14 a.m. I spoke to Tony. Situation was explained. It had nothing to do with poor communication. Thank you. At approximately 9:43 a.m., I only meant that you quote unquote communicated your desire to pick up the trolley yesterday instead of showing up. This drama that even involved the police could have been avoided. I'm glad you're satisfied. Signed by Mayor Landis. The last email I received was at 12:16 p.m. From Trustee Essick. Leaving the key fob in an unlocked open village vehicle is the only matter in question, but thank you for your input. And that was the last correspondence I received. Why do I bring this up, you ask? Article 2, Officers, Election, Powers and Duties, Section 14 of the General Duties of Trustee, number 3 in our charter reads, to provide for the care, custody, and preservation of property, records and papers of said village. The trolley is a village-owned property. I was told by an employee in a phone call from the DPW on July 2nd that the trolley had been fixed and ready to go and I could pick it up at any time. Since I'm on the topic of communication, I would like to touch on inconsistencies that we've received in our agendas. On April 21st, 2018, we passed a resolution to have the agenda no later than 1 p.m. Wednesday for the Monday's meeting. This would allow more time for research and/or questions to make better decisions on our meeting. I have made public more than a few times how I felt regarding what agenda are we doing tonight. Tonight's meeting was no different. I'll follow up by letting everyone know that I received 2 agendas. One was a Wednesday agenda, which I received approximately, I have the timestamp on here, Doug. I had one with me.
Wednesday at 5:42 p.m.
Thank you very much. I received our first copy of the agenda. The second agenda was received Friday afternoon at 3:51 p.m. Good morning, good afternoon. Per Mayor Landis, I have attached the executive minutes to April 29th session to the email. They are included the agenda for the board meeting for Monday, July 15th to be approved. Also, I apologize for the amended agenda, but this is the correct one to be used on Monday night. Trustee Essick, your name was removed from the resolutions regarding the fire lieutenant citing conflict of interest. Trustee Britz, the red, white, and blues resolution is considerably long. Attorney Guard advised me that the whole thing does not have to be read at the meeting. The first paragraph directly under the sponsors would be enough. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you and have a nice weekend. Signed off by Anne Marie Johnson, Village Clerk. But the revised agenda is a bit different than the ones in the past. You may have noticed this time executive minutes have been added to the official minutes to be approved by our trustees. Executive minutes, April 29th, 2019, to be exact. Last meeting, I informed the board and our attorney that this was brought to my attention by attorneys at NICOM, which is the New York State Conference of Mayors. In Albany, that if a vote was conducted in an executive session and brought before the board, it must be recorded in the official minutes of said meeting. The content of the meeting or the discussion of the meeting can also remain private. But the vote and how the votes were cast must be recorded in order for that vote to be official. If not recorded, the official minutes, then the vote can be challenged in a court of law. I was told by the attorney Don Guard at the time, "You are wrong. Executive meetings at a regular meeting are two separate meetings, and that information must be foiled." What a change in tune since today's conversation. The Committee on Open Government states, "The law provides for closed or executive session under circumstances prescribed in the law. If the importance to emphasize that executive session is not separate from an open meeting, but rather defined as a portion of the open meeting, during in which public may be excused." So I ask, why is this revised agenda as per Mayor Landis? Retaliation, harassment, bullying? These terms have been used many times in the past 4 years under the current administration. I don't need to get into details. You have seen and heard them yourself in the headlines. In a recent assassination of my character by Mayor Landis, I offer my brief response. First, I was attacked as a result of my investigation on an illegal purchase of a vehicle. In the course of doing my job for which I was elected, I learned that the vehicle had been purchased and paid for without votes of the trustees. The mayor's recent attack on me is some sort of attempt to intimidate me or discredit me so that her wrongdoing does not hurt her re-election efforts. The second point concerns the sad fact that we must deal with these repeated character assassinations in our wonderful village. How can we attract good candidates to run for office when they face this sort of risk? I certainly did not harass any of our village employees. I will continue to do the job that I was elected to do in the face of this campaign. At this time, I have no other comments.
Thank you very much.
I have no comment.
Let's go to the, Jim, yes. Yes, I'll come to you. Mr. Tony Cazzino, I would like you to give a report to the people of the village and to this board as to where all our projects are right now. We have different projects.
Sure.
And to please explain what happened to the trolley. My answer was, after I called you, I wrote exactly what you told me. So please explain, first, the good news, where the projects are.
Okay, well, I'd be happy to, thank you for the opportunity. We did complete our oil and stone projects with the assistance of the County Highway Association members and our neighbors. And my next significant project is we're going to be milling and repaving Central Avenue from the city line up to Forbes Place. The projected date of the milling is July 29th, a Monday. That'll leave us 7 to 8 days of work days to do prep, clean up around manholes, water valves and all. And the projected paving date is August 12th. These are all CHIPS programs under our CHIPS funding. We will be doing a press release in advance of that both of those actual dates. We will have traffic control set up. We're looking forward to that. And then another project we're doing is the Water Street parking lot. We patched that heavily, and we're going to be oil and stoning that probably the week of August 3rd. And that's with leftover stone we had. We'll be doing it probably with all our own trucks. And that should be a nice project to seal that parking lot. It was starting to fall apart. We don't want that to happen. And then we're also going to do this week the east parking lot, the southern half of the parking lot, from the roadway to the curb line. We're renting a micro miller to take out some of the high spots. We've already true and leveled a lot of the parking lot. And then we're gonna do some blacktopping in there on that chunk of the parking lot. And that will be, I hope, the first step in starting to address these parking lots instead of just pothole patching.
I have just a different question in regards to that. The couple side streets, Pulaski and Steuben and Douglas and Bradish, were you and Suit Code able to come up with any solutions for that or not this year?
Only that, well, we do, but we'll be up there again and swept and swept and swept,
Okay.
and I haven't heard any more problems.
Okay.
In fact, I drove them again today. There's really nothing more you could do because it was different stone, if I may.
Okay.
And, but yeah, I mean, I think they look pretty well, pretty good right now. They are cleaned up a lot.
Okay.
But having said that, more good news, if I may. The water line project, they're all done on everything but Middlesex. The water line main is laid. We're just waiting for the chlorine residual samples to come back. They're supposed to get back to St. George tomorrow. If that passes, then they can start tying the last services up on Middlesex. Middlesex has been, they started paving the road cuts today, but pretty much all the remediation for paving, landscaping, hydro seeding, everything behind the project.
When do you think Middlesex is going to be restored? Because I have quite a few messages from their
Well, that's what
small
they're doing
kids want to play outside. They can't play outside. Too many big vehicles there. I mean, they appreciate everything we do, but at the same time, it's summer.
I don't blame them. I mean, the road cuts are being addressed.
Okay.
And then, once the water services are done, then you have to go back and, regrade, reseed. It's gonna be 2 to 3 weeks anyway, probably.
2 to 3 weeks.
Only because, they shut down for a few, well, we lost several weeks of weather.
And there was also kind of a complaint, not, people understand, but that they lost their water supply without any warning. I mean, nobody told them that they're going to, they have no reason to lie. But
No, they have no reason to lie, and those are unforeseen things when there's water services that aren't locatable, and the backhoe operator or the company might snag a water service, you have to shut the line down
Yes.
so they can repair it. That's true in every water project I've been part of. It happens, it's unfortunate. Anytime we've had a planned shutdown for a block or a section, we do press releases to let the people know.
Great. Can you now, are you all done with the projects?
Basically, I just wanted to let people know, another positive note, Russell Joy Park, we've been doing a lot of upgrades up there.
Okay.
We, with the cooperation of the town, we put a new steel roof on the upper pavilion. Job Corps came and gave us 2 days of painting for the upper and lower pavilion. They came out great. And we've got motion detected solar floodlights mounted on each pavilion now. We're doing a lot of painting. Everybody's pitching in. Jude's guys have helped out, so we're just trying to get a lot done. It's been a real busy season, but it's all good stuff. I love it.
Great.
This is the stuff I
Could you
like to
please
do.
explain the trolley situation?
Yeah, absolutely. It's no problem. I apologize. We did have a hell of a day with temperature. We were out there digging a 200-some foot trench in over 100-degree weather, and we did have the trolley ready. We had the roof patched. We had all the lighting fixed up inside. The only thing we did not have ready was the interior detailing, if you will. I own that. When we did move the trolley, I had meant for them to go get it, just to bring it back in, because we had operational, the battery was running. You're absolutely correct. The battery switch was left on. It drained the battery for you guys when you went to get it. And the key was left in, which that person's been, spoken to. It's an inadvertent situation. but it really would have helped. I'm not saying you had to, but if I knew you were coming, I would have probably even done more cleaning in it if I had time. But that's still on me, and I own it, and I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Mr. Garrett.
We're hearing a lot of this is illegal and that's illegal. What the public needs to realize is that these are largely uneducated political comments by folks who really aren't interested in answers, but just an ambush. I've done the research. I'll be happy to provide it to anybody who wants it. I believe that the public is smart enough, given the political season, to see the difference. For the record, the vote that found Trustee Britz committed acts of workplace violence was not the mayor's vote. The mayor never voted. The mayor never had the opportunity to vote. The board, including Trustee Essick, voted that that be the case. If transparency is what is desired, then this is transparency. I honestly can't believe that anybody's arguing against transparency. We can see the motivation. Thank you.
Any other reports from department heads? We have reports?
The following is a report for the month of June from the Fredonia Justice Court. Number of cases closed, vehicle and traffic 95, criminal cases 22, village ordinances 26, civil cases 2, ABC laws 10, for a total of 155 cases. Total fines and surcharges, $9,892. Parking tickets, $2,284, for a total of $12,176. The report for the month of June from the Fredonia Fire Department. Total calls, rescue and EMS, 102. Hazardous conditions, no fire, 2. Service calls, 2. Good intent calls, 13. False alarm and false call, 13, for a total of 132. And those are the reports.
Thank you very much. Correspondence was received from Steve Watterson, Community Relations Director of the Resource Center, on behalf of the 23rd Annual Laurel Run, requesting use of village streets for the Laurel Run flag relay on Friday, July the 19th, 2019.
Be it resolved, the request of Stephen Watterson, Community Relations Director, on behalf of the 23rd Annual Laurel Run, to use various village streets for the 2019 Annual Laurel Run on Friday, July 19th, 2019, is hereby approved, subject to the direction and escort of the Fredonia Police Department, and the village receiving a certificate of insurance in the amount of $1 million, naming the village as an additional insured, which the village has received.
I second that.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essick?
Yes.
Trustee Bridge?
Aye.
Trustee Barris?
Aye. Be it resolved that the request from the...
Correspondence was received. Correspondence was received from Festivals Fredonia requesting permission to use the gazebo and Barker Common for the annual Red, White, and Blues Festival, Friday, September the 6th, and Saturday, September 7th, 2019, and AM Vets 9/11 Remembrance Bike Run.
Be it resolved that the request from Festivals Fredonia to use the gazebo in Barker Common Friday, September 6th, and Saturday, September 7th, 2019, for the annual Red, White, and Blues Festival and the AM/Vets 9/11 Remembrance Bike Run is hereby approved as set forth below.
I'll second that.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essick?
Yes.
Trustee Bridge?
Yes.
Trustee Barris?
I abstain.
Correspondence was received from Larry Fiorella, Chairperson, Red, White, and Blues Festival Committee, requesting a red, white, and blues banner be hung across Temple Street beginning August the 25th, 2019, and ending on September the 8th, 2019.
Whereas Festivals Fredonia is holding their annual Red, White, and Blues Festival Friday, September 6th and Saturday, September 7th, 2019 in downtown Fredonia. Therefore, be it resolved that Festivals Fredonia have permission to hang a red, white, and blues banner across the telephone wires located between the Family Church Fredonia and the Fredonia Village Hall starting August 25th, 2019 and ending September 8th, 2019. And be it further resolved that DFT Communications and National Grid will be notified of the board's approval and be provided with the required certificates of insurance, and Festivals Fredonia will provide a certificate of insurance naming the Village of Fredonia as an additional insured.
I'll second the motion.
Trustee Christina? Yes. Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
Yes.
Trustee Briggs?
Aye.
Trustee Barris?
Aye.
A letter dated July the 11th, 2019 was received from me recommending the appointment of Matthew Estep to the Cable Advisory Board.
Be it resolved that the appointment of Matthew Estep, 18 Middlesex Drive, Fredonia, to the Cable Advisory Board for a 2-year term, which shall expire July of 2021, is hereby approved.
I'll second that.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
Yes.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Barris?
Aye.
Scott resolutions.
Whereas the Village of Fredonia applied for and was awarded a New York Main Street Technical Assistance Grant through the New York Office of Community Renewal, OCR, and whereas the grant funded architectural services, which included the preparation of target area building analysts and facade design recommendations for select buildings in a target area established along Main and Water Streets, with OCR having received and approved the technical assistance support, and whereas the village is now prepared to submit New York Main Street target area building renovation grant through the consolidation funding application CFA, and whereas this program would provide matching grants to eligible building owners for renovations of mixed-use buildings to be used to renovate facades, storefronts, and commercial interiors, with additional funding available for direct assistance to residential units. And whereas the village received great interest from several building owners within the target area, with all being eligible to participate in the program if awarded, and whereas the funding would be available to building owners to reimburse up to 75% for qualified renovation expenses, and whereas if awarded, the grant will cover the village's administration cost. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Fredonia authorizes the mayor to submit a consolidation fund application for up to $500,000 at no expense to the village, with matching funds coming from the participating building owners.
I second the resolution.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
Yes.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Barris?
Aye.
Be resolved that Peter Kalani of 3482 Webster Road, Fredonia, is hereby hired as seasonal laborers to work with the Department of Public Works at an hourly rate of pay of $11.10, effective July 16th, 2019, subject to civil service rules and regulations, and with no other benefits to be given.
I second the resolution.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
No.
Trustee Briggs?
No.
Trustee Barris?
Aye.
Did you say no?
Be resolved that Daniel Aldrich is hereby appointed to the position of probationary fire lieutenant at a salary of $31.67 per hour, effective July 16th, 2019, and be it further resolved that Daniel Aldrich shall serve a 26-week probationary period, subject to all applicable civil service rules and regulations.
I'll second the motion.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
Yes.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Barris?
Aye.
Whereas Ryan Walker has completed all of the necessary requirements to be appointed as permanent fire chief. Therefore, be it resolved, Ryan Walker is hereby appointed to the position of fire chief with an 8-week probationary period.
I second the resolution.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
No.
Trustee Briggs?
No, without written documentation to support Dan Guard's claim, I would like to vote no.
Trustee Barnes?
Aye.
Be it resolved, the Village of Fredonia Board of Trustees meetings will begin at 6 PM and be it further resolved, the first item on the agenda will be a period of workshop.
You want to amend that?
But this is just for the summer, right?
Just for the summer? Can we
Can we
put
amend it
just
to
for the
keep the
summer?
current
Schedule of time,
Current starting time.
current starting time.
So 6 o'clock for now.
So be it resolved, the Village of Fredonia Board of Trustees meeting will begin at 6 PM during the summer and 6:30 the rest of the year. Be it further resolved, the first item on the agenda will be a period of workshop.
I second that.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Essek?
Yes.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Barnes?
Aye.
Thank you. And I think we're done. Can I have an adjournment? Motion for adjournment?
I'd like to call to go into executive session to discuss matters of the removal of a probationary cadet's employment with the Village of Fredonia Fire Department and to discuss matters of the discipline of a specific Department of Public Works employee. Chief Walker, if you could attend this executive session as well, please. I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden? Trustee Essek?
Yes.
Trustee Briggs?
Yes.
Trustee Barnes?
Aye.